Hey everybody, and welcome back to some more Project Ozone Lite. We're back. Last episode we were working on starting to automate our sifting system. Now I've changed a couple of things and moved a couple of things since the end of last episode, but before I get into all of that stuff, the first thing that I would like to do in today's episode is make myself a sound muffler from Extra Utilities 2, because the nether portal to my left is ridiculously loud and very ill-placed. And so if I just quickly do something like this, it doesn't look great, but it does reduce the sound that comes from the nether portal significantly, to the point where you can barely even hear it at this point. It is making it sound ever so slightly, but compared to how it was just a second ago, it is so much quieter. It's just great. So what I've done between episodes is a couple of things. First things first, I've built these little boxes here because if you remember, whenever we would sift something with the mechanical user, all of the drops that came out of that sift would fly everywhere, and half of them would go off into the void, a few more of them would fly off into our base, and I kind of wanted to contain all of them within a small area. Now, I'm going to change how we collect our items in today's episode, because up until now, we have been using these absorption hoppers, which I have been told are not the best way to collect things. A much better way to do it is to use the advanced item collector, which is this guy over here. This thing is a lot more configurable, and also I think a lot quicker at picking up all of its items than this absorption hopper is. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly whip up one of these advanced item collectors. They're really easy to make. It's 2 glowstone, 1 redstone torch, and then 1 item collector, which is made with 1 ender pearl, 3 pieces of obsidian, and a standard hopper. We do have, I think, a couple of ender pearls lying around in here. We have 2. I thought we had a third one. I might have one in a chest somewhere, but I'll make that real quick. I also noticed that I've made some more compacting drawers. I'll get to those in just a second. Actually, I'll get to those right now, because we need ourselves some iron. And so what I've done over here is the system is pretty much still the same. All of the drops, or at least all of the ore pieces that we get from sifting, go on through into the draw controller. The draw controller will then automatically place all of those ore pieces in the correct drawers, and we pull out the chunks. We pulverize them in the sag mill. We then throw them into the alloy smelter to be smelted. But now what I've done is I've added in a bunch of extra compacting drawers for each and every one of those ingots, and then just pump the result from the alloy smelter straight back around into the draw controller. And so as soon as something is smelted, I'm not quite sure why we have cobblestone in there, maybe one of the chunks gives it as a secondary output, potentially. We might have to look into that. But now if we look in here, you'll see the yellorium is getting smelted up. Once it's smelted up, it will then get sent around into the draw controller, which will then automatically place that yellorium into the compacting draw for yellorium. And so it just helps us automate the system even more. It means we don't have to rely on the alloy smelter's internal buffer, or even on a chest like this one that can get backed up pretty quickly. Instead, we can hold up to 2048 of every single ingot up until the point that that fills up, at which point we can always go ahead and upgrade our compacting drawers if need be. But let me, for now, quickly grab a couple of ingots worth of iron so we can make ourselves a hopper, and then we should have, I think, pretty much everything it takes at that point to make the advanced item collector. So we'll just take you. We'll then grab 3 pieces of obsidian. Speaking of which, it kind of has nothing to do with obsidian, but I have also made a new carbon tool. You may have noticed on the hotbar, I now have a carbon hatchet. I'm just going to dump a couple of items into here because we have 0 inventory space whatsoever. I should really set up some more chests kind of closer to our crafting table. But yep, I made a new carbon hatchet. It's a lot better at cutting down trees, and it's also much better when it comes to attacking mobs, because you may remember last episode when I went to attack mobs with my normal pickaxe, I kind of end up breaking a lot of the spawner, whereas if I use the hatchet, I don't break the cobblestone quite as quickly, and it also has more attack damage than the pickaxe does on its own. Now, the better solution, I think, would just be to make a carbon sword, but we'll get to that in the future. For now, at least, let me just grab 1 piece of redstone torch. I was going to say 1 piece of glowstone, but we need 2 pieces of glowstone and then 1 redstone torch. Do we have any sticks lying around? I think we might. We do indeed. Good stuff. Let me grab 1 of those, and we should be able to craft all of that together to get ourselves advanced item collector. Nice. So what I'm going to do here, instead of using these item ducts from thermal expansion or thermal dynamics, which are quite slow and also quite clunky and also fairly hard to filter, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to place our advanced item collector directly onto the draw controller, so that now anything that gets sifted will automatically get placed into the draw controller, which will then, of course, try and place it into one of the storage drawers within that draw network. Now, to do that, we are going to have to get more storage drawers, but the main reason I gave this up is we kind of ran out of filter slots over here. You'll see we only have 6, and I believe there is extra stuff that I've still yet to filter, especially on this side as well. This one has redstone, glowstone, bone meal, blaze powder, Certus quartz dust, nether quartz dust, and skystone dust, which is 7. And we only have 6 here on our hardened server. We could, of course, upgrade that to a higher tier of server, but what I think is going to make a lot more sense is actually just to kind of replace this entirely, because another problem that happens with this system is that the chests get full up. So we just end up with a chest that is full of redstone or glowstone or anything like that, and we don't actually end up putting them into any kind of storage, and so it all backs up eventually anyway. Whereas if we put it in a storage drawer, just like all the other stuff, it'll take a lot longer for it to actually end up backing up, and we can always go ahead and upgrade the storage drawers to have more capacity later on down the line. Now, the first problem that I kind of have with this setup is that these storage drawers are kind of out of the way. I don't want to do all of my crafting over here and then kind of walk over to this section to grab all of my ingots or maybe grab some redstone or glowstone. And so what I would like to do is move some of these storage drawers here whilst still connecting them to the main storage controller. And I think we can do that using what are known as drawer trims. These guys right here, these are part of a storage drawer network and allow you to connect multiple drawers together, but don't actually do anything. And because they don't do anything, they're also quite cheap. It's just 5 wood and 4 sticks. So if we grab a little bit of oak wood here, I did do a little bit more tree farming between episodes, and we do something like this and grab the sticks that we already know are in that chest, craft up a couple of these oak drawer trims. We probably don't need more than 8 for the time being. And then essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these trims down where these compacting drawers are. So I'm going to have trims that come from the drawer controller all the way over to probably about here. And so what I'm going to do here real quick, guys, is I'm going to go away. I'm going to break. I'm first of all going to dump all my stuff in this inventory here, because I'm pretty sure that as soon as I break this, we're going to get quite a bit of certain metals. For example, I think there's a lot of iron in here, but some of them are not too bad. And also, we do have to worry about breaking the floor as well. So let me see about picking up everything in here. I'd also like it if things didn't fly all over the place. It looks like we don't have quite as much as I thought. Thankfully, most of it is coming out in block form, which is quite nice. And so what we are going to do here is basically run these oak trims along like this over to the front, and then I'm going to put down the compacting drawers again on the front line like this. And so what should happen is, for example, if I grab a block of iron and I put the first block in, now if I go back over to the drawer controller and double right click, it should put all of the rest of the iron, and it has done. It's taken all of the iron and put it back into the drawer controller. So we now know that the compacting drawer is still connected to the main network, and it's also just a little bit easier to access whilst I'm working over here, and it also doesn't interfere with this setup over here. It allows us to kind of just neatly organize all of our compacting drawers, and I'm probably also going to end up moving a lot of the other storage drawers, like the ones that we have over there, over to here at some point as well. Also, for now, I'm going to get rid of our apple tree. It is a great source of infinite food, but we do have enough apples to grow another one as and when we need it. So let me just get rid of that and then quickly throw all of these back down. It's kind of hard to hover with this jetpack. We do really need to upgrade it at some point fairly soon, but we'll do something, I guess, for now like this. And then what we need to do is we also need to, first of all, put all of these back into their respective storage drawers and then lock them again to make sure that the wrong ingots don't end up in the wrong drawer. So let me just quickly throw all of these back in like so. We should have the perfect number of drawers. Which one am I missing? I'm missing tin. Let's throw you in over there. And then if we again go back around and double right click on the drawer controller, it should put all of the ingots in my inventory back where they belong, apart from osmium. Have I messed up here? Have I put tin in 2 places? Or is this osmium? That's osmium. For some reason, that doesn't want to accept ingots, I guess. Can I put ingots in there? Yeah, and then put the osmium in. Okay, I'm not quite sure why those didn't go in, but everything now has its own storage drawer. And so basically what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to go away real quick. I'm going to make new storage drawers for every single one of these items. So we'll have one for diamonds, for coal, for emeralds, for lapis. I'm probably going to make the smaller storage drawers. These ones over here are quite large, and it would take up quite a bit of space to have this many large ones for each and every item that we sift. Instead, what I will do is I'll make the 2x2 storage drawers. I can show you these real quick. These ones can hold less of each item, so they can't hold 2048 like the big drawers can, but they can hold 4 different items as opposed to just one individual item like the larger ones can. And they're still upgradable in the future as well, so we don't have to worry about running out of space anytime soon. And so if we just quickly grab 4 drawers and do something like that, we get 4 2x2 drawers. And so now if we do something like this, again, trying to hover to make sure that these drawers face the right way, like that, what we can do is we can come on over, we can grab all of the drops from the sifting system, and we can give them each their own storage drawer. Now, you may have noticed that the mechanical user is not here. What I've done as well between episodes is set up a new area down here that you may have seen a second ago when I was moving some of the storage drawers. But essentially, what people have told me is that if you have the mechanical user on top, it's slightly inefficient because the centerpiece here, so the little bit of gravel that gets sifted in that center sieve, ends up flying down underneath the platform as opposed to flying up and out. And so all I've done is I've just gone ahead and moved everything down underneath like so. It's the exact same setup that we had before. I've also moved the flint storage drawer down here as well so that we don't end up with a backed up system in the form of the sag mill. We still don't have a way of powering this, but we will get to that in today's episode. But before we do that, let me quickly just finish up putting all of the rest of these drops here into their respective storage drawers. And not too long later, all of the items are now all within their respective slots. And I've also gone ahead and locked each and every one of these drawers using the drawer key to make sure that none of them come out and none of them go into the wrong slot in the future. So now that that's taken care of, we need to keep on working on trying to automate this setup because, as I mentioned just a minute ago, these two are not online because they don't have power. Now, in the last episode, we started to look at the Magmatic generators from X Utilities 2, these ones over here. Now, to make them, we need 5 magma blocks, a furnace, 1 singularity tank, which is really easy to make. It's just glass and iron, and then 2 steel. Steel can fairly easily be made in the alloy smelter with 1 iron ingot and 8 pulverized coal, which can be made in the sag mill, pulverized charcoal, I should say, which can be made in the sag mill. The hard part about the recipe is the magma block, which can be made by crafting together 4 magma creams, which can be made fairly easily using some form of slime ball and a blaze powder. But the problem is we don't have any kind of slime ball. Now, I did make a jetpack last episode, and my idea was to fly around looking for a slime island. However, in the comment section of the last episode, people handily pointed out to me that you can actually find magma blocks in the nether. And so what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to charge up my jetpack because it is only on 58%. I did a little bit of scouting ahead of time, and I'm fairly certain I know where there are at least a couple of magma blocks. And so what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go away. I'm going to head on through into the nether. I'm going to try and find at least 10, maybe 15 magma blocks so we can try and make 2 or 3 magmatic generators, and I'll be back in a second. Also, whilst we're here, I feel like we might as well get the easy gas tier, right? Really? No gas tier? That's a shame. So it turns out these are a lot more abundant than I originally anticipated. All you have to do is find a large bed of lava like this one, and they're pretty much everywhere. You can see these magma blocks are kind of all over the place, and so we could just do a huge vein mine like that and get almost 2 stacks of magma block, and so it shouldn't really be too hard for us to get quite a lot of these magmatic generators up and running quite early here. And so what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to go away again. I'm going to head back through to the overworld. I'm going to smelt up quite a bit of wood into charcoal and then pulverize that charcoal in the sag mill to get some of this pulverized charcoal to make the steel. I'll also smelt up quite a bit of glass to make sure we're ready to make the singularity tank. And again, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so now that we've got a bunch of charcoal and way too many magma blocks, what I've done over here is I've temporarily disconnected this system that we've got behind us here just to make sure that nothing else ends up in the sag mill or the alloy smelter, and I've begun smelting together some steel ingots, which we can grab pretty quickly. And if we head on over to our crafting station, I think we should now have everything it takes to make a couple of these, apart from apparently some iron ingots. But if we just quickly grab some of those, we should be able to craft up a few of these. Again, I think for now I'm going to shoot for 5 just because we didn't have all that much in the way of oak wood, and so we don't really have that much in the way of steel. You need 8 logs per piece of steel here, and so we'll shoot for 5 for now, and then we can always expand later on down the line. Let's grab a stack of cobblestone so we can make ourselves 5 furnaces, and then at that point we are pretty much good to go. We're just waiting on the alloy smelter. And so what I'm going to do whilst we wait for all of our steel to smelt up is I'm going to start setting this up down here. So I did go ahead and make another crucible. I think for the time being I'm just going to grab the Draconic Evolution Awakened Draconium block that we have here because it produces so much lava so fast. And then I think for now I'm also just going to steal kind of these 2 just so we can get a head start on the system. Did I pick that up? I don't think I did. Hopefully it hasn't fallen into the void. It didn't. Good stuff. I'm just going to leave that there for now. That'll probably despawn. That's fine. All we need to do is throw down our crucible underneath our block of awakened draconium, and then the same setup that we had before. We'll do something like this and something like this. We might have to upgrade this to make it a little bit faster, just so it can keep up with how fast the awakened draconium block can turn all of that cobblestone into lava, because you'll see it's doing it ridiculously quickly. But then from there, the exact same system again. I think for now I'll just put these like here at the front. We'll just have 5 in a row. All we need to do is grab our hardened fluid ducts, of which we should have I think like 4 or 5 left over here. We do indeed. And so now if we head on back down and do something like this, and then finally harden server and extract, we should be able to start making some nice, reliable sources of power. Nice. Now these things, I believe, produce 40 redstone flux per tick, and that's kind of the standard for all of the generators from extra utilities, I believe. I could be wrong about that though, and it does look like it's getting more than enough lava, at least for the time being. I'm not quite sure how that's going to stand up once we add 3 more of these. Again, we can easily fix it by adding some more cobblestone generators, and the 1 awakened draconium block should be more than enough to power quite a lot of these magmatic generators. So let me just check here. Do we have more steel? We do indeed. Not quite enough to get us up to 5, but I guess for now we can start with 3, and then between episodes I'll make a few more, because it's mostly just me chopping down wood and then smelting it into charcoal, pulverizing the charcoal, and then whacking it in the alloy smelter. So for now, we'll just do this, and now we need to actually transfer that power from the magmatic generators round into our machines, both the sag mill, the sterling generator, and then the other sag mill and the alloy smelter over on this side. Of course, they do already have the solar panels, but as we've shown before, the solar panels don't quite produce enough redstone flux per tick. Right now, we're producing, what, 120 redstone flux per tick, I think, over here with the magmatic generators. This guy requires 70. We won't need the sterling generator, which is good, and that's another 70 over there, so that's 140, plus I think 60? 80. And so that's going to take us up to 220 redstone flux per tick. We don't quite have that yet, but once we get down all of our magmatic generators, we should be able to fairly easily cover all of that. And of course, we're not going to get rid of the solar panels, so there's no point in taking them away. Might as well let them stay there and keep producing power for the sterling generator and the alloy smelter. But we need to transfer the power, and to do that we have 2 options. We can either use the flux duct from thermal expansion. Those go from leadstone all the way up to resonant. The first tier, the leadstone, requires quite a bit of redstone, some lead, and some glass, but can transfer up to 1,000 redstone flux per tick. The ones from Ender.io are called energy conduits, and they can transfer a base amount of 6,400 redstone flux per tick, which is kind of crazy. That's from the basic tier of conduit, which needs 6 conduit binder and then 3 conductive iron, which is just iron and redstone. I think we're definitely probably going to have to go with these, because you make more of them. You make 8 as opposed to 6, and they can transfer so much more redstone flux per tick, going all the way up to 99,999 redstone flux per tick. I believe these have been tweaked in the configs to make them just a little bit more powerful. And so all we really need here is the conduit binder, which I think we might still have in excess from a previous episode. Let me do a quick search here. Binder. Do we not have any lying around? We've got some binder composite over there, which we could smelt. Do we have some more lying around, though? We do. We got 64 conduit binder in our chest. I should really move some of this stuff out of that chest and put it back into the chests over here, or into their own storage drawers. But that gets us all of the conduit binder. And so now all we need is 3 pieces of redstone, which we have just, and then 3 pieces of iron in the alloy smelter, and we should get ourselves our first set of energy conduits. Like so. Nice. So let's take these back on down over to here. We're not quite going to have enough, I don't think, to, well, easily. We're not going to have enough to get this over to the sag mill, unfortunately. Let me get rid of this guy for the time being. I'm going to have to manually, I think, get a little bit more in the way of dust so we can make some redstone, which is by far the limiting factor when it comes to making more of the conduits. And so, guys, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go away again. I'm going to get a bunch more dust. I'm going to sift that dust until we've got a bunch of redstone. Once we've got a bunch of redstone, I'll use that redstone to make some more of these energy conduits. Whilst I'm waiting for all of that dust to sift automatically in our mechanical user, I'm going to go ahead and chop down some more trees, try and make 2 more magmatic generators, and again, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I was about to put all of my dust into the mechanical user to start the sifting process when I realized we haven't set up the advanced item collector. So let me very quickly get rid of both of these absorption hoppers that we have on top of our sifting systems, and I'm fairly certain, although I haven't tested it yet, that the item collector can go through walls. I haven't tested it in like this style, but I have kind of seen it pull from like over here into the item collector. And so what we need to do, if we right click on this, is configure its radius using X, Y, and Z. Now, for us, I'm pretty sure that this way is Z, so kind of this axis here. X is this way, so it's left to right where I'm moving right now, and then Y, of course, is up and down. So really, I want the X and Z radius to be quite a bit bigger, because it needs to go, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11 blocks that way in the X direction. It is also going to do however many we do in one direction, in the other direction, of course, as well. And so I think the max is 10. I think that should be able to pick up everything that we sift, because now with the glass walls, things shouldn't fly out. Also, I didn't mention it earlier, but I don't know if I'm a huge fan of these systems that I've set up. I might try and replace this glass with clear glass in the future, just because I'm not a huge fan of this like textured vanilla glass. But anyway, let me also do the same thing here for the Z direction. I don't really think we need to increase the Y direction all that much. It's basically getting everything on the same level as it. It doesn't need to go up or down. We don't really want it picking up anything that's dropped downstairs, or anything that's dropped like too far over into our base. And so this should now, I think, work out just fine. So for example, if we come on over into our sifter here, and we just kind of manually start the process of sifting away at some dust, what we should see, if we leave that there, actually, let me go and put all of, I've turned hover mode on somehow by accident. I don't know what the key is. It's H. Okay, let me turn hover mode off, and let me put some of this dust into here to make sure that it actually starts to do it automatically for us. What we should see is everything that comes out of that sifter should very quickly be pulled automatically through the advanced item collector into the drawer controller and then into its respective storage drawer. Now, this thing is still really slow. We can upgrade the mechanical user using speed upgrades, but for the time being, this will do. I just want to get the automation up and running before we start working on making it faster. And as you can see, that was ridiculously fast. Like, I didn't even see the items before they were pulled by the item collector. And you'll notice here in our basic storage drawer, we now have 22 redstone, which is significantly more than we had earlier on in today's episode. And so again, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go away, I'm going to get a bunch more redstone, make some more conduits, make some more magmatic generators, and I'll be back in a second. And finally, a little while later, we now have a bunch of energy conduits as well as 5 magmatic generators over here, ready to produce some redstone flux. I arranged them like this because I realized that we didn't have quite enough hardened flux ducts to put another one down here and here. We only have one more left. And so in the interest of laziness and getting this done quickly, I just put one down on the left and one down on the right of this first hardened fluid duct there. I might change that in the future, but for now, that should work out just fine. So let's do something, I guess, like this, and then like this. It's a little messy, but it gets the job done, and it hooks up our sag mill. I don't think we're quite out of dust yet. We're not finished on the dust, but that's fine. It'll eventually sift through all of the dust and then start working on the sand and gravel from the sag mill here. And then let's also go and connect up our other sag mill and our alloy smelter to make sure that these are also always running at maximum speed, like so. Now you'll notice that I've also left another mechanical user over here. That is because right now we are, of course, not automatically sifting dust. We're only automatically sifting sand and gravel, which is a problem because it means we do not have a good source of resources like redstone. Redstone probably being the most important because it's used so frequently. And so what I'm going to work on at the start of next episode is set up a system that automatically turns sand into dust, which you can't do with a sag mill, unfortunately. You have to do it with a hammer. And so we are going to have quite an involved setup to get that working, but hopefully by the end of next episode, we'll have a mechanical user automatically sifting dust and then another mechanical user automatically sifting sand and gravel. That does mean that we will be sifting a small amount of sand compared to the amount of gravel and the amount of dust, but it should work out just fine. Oh, also, I don't think we've got a storage drawer for flint. I think that's why we're getting all this flint. Also, I do not want to pick up all the stuff that I just picked up. Let me try and dump that back in like so. And I'm fairly certain that I do have one slot free for it right about there. I do. And just as a last thing here to finish off this episode, I'm going to try and kill this Enderman because I need 2 Ender Pearls for the start of next episode, and I've only got 1, and we do have our Enderman charm, but not on us. Ooh, we didn't die, which is good. We also didn't get an Ender Pearl, which sucks a little bit. Let me quickly see here. Do I have, like, most of my charms in here? There's my Enderman charm that I thought I had on me. Unfortunately, I didn't, but thankfully, it didn't really make much of a difference. Let me quickly, like, just grab all of these charms and see if I can't get an Enderman. Do we have a creeper charm? We don't. A creeper charm, I don't know if it exists. I know we looked at the list before, but it's been a while. Would be nice because creepers are the biggest problem we have here. We've got mob griefing on. And so, although this hatchet does do a pretty good job of insta-killing everything, the creepers do occasionally blow up and ruin the mob spawner, which also needs upgrading, by the way. This is not a particularly good mob spawner. We should really start to look towards automating this. But unfortunately, there does not appear to be any enderman there. That's fine. I'm sure we can get an enderman to spawn between episodes. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's episode of Project Ozone Lite there. We didn't complete any quests today. No quests were completed, but we did take a step forward in the way of automation. We got our first bits of redstone flux up and running between episodes. I might even go ahead and make a few more of these and maybe even upgrading our cobblestone generator here into a higher tier one to keep up with the pace. Although for now, it looks like it's doing fine. But as always, thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you guys next time.